Zombie-etch. I do think that a lot of the way that these things end has a lot time to do with the fact that you know we're recording these things. We can just say this openly. I don't think this ruins anything for the audience. We are recording these things on Zoom meetings, and the Zoom calls are like 30, 40 minutes. So we're trying, and I wrote this as a short one. So we're trying to do it like that. Uh, but so if you as a player feel like, oh, that's kind of unsatisfying, I can understand that. But to me, that felt like how an anthology story might end. So I was okay with that.
Yeah. No, it was good. I mean, I like Call of Cthulhu in general. So
Right.
the long format where the games are like an hour and a half, 2 hours. We've played some games that have even gone into like 3+ hours, but I like that they feel like a movie length. And then these short ones I like
Yes.
because they feel like you're watching a horror anthology show. And if
Yeah.
any of that stuff is entertaining to
Definitely.
someone, then they should have a good time playing it, if not watching it, or vice versa.
Yeah. Hopefully. We tried to lean in a little bit more character wise in this one. That was my girlfriend's note, and I think she was right. And so hopefully that came through a little bit, but also not trying to overdo it. We're not trying to be like
Oh,
we're
I
not
was overdoing
Matt
it.
Mercer over here. We don't do voiceover for a living. Huh?
I was Billy Westing it. Was I overdoing it a little bit?
No, no, you did great. You did great. I liked it because it was still fairly subtle. I think you were pulling it back still, so that was fine. And maybe this is a little too behind the curtain because people just care more about the game. But the way that stuff is done does seem to be relevant to us. We don't want to make it annoying and or boring. So trying to strike a balance. What did you think of this scenario? Be brutally honest with me. It's okay if you didn't like it.
Um, I really liked it, but questions? No, so this isn't like a slight at the game, but because instinctually I wanted to go back to the car and wait for the cops. And so I'm curious what would have happened if I would have not like instigated the action. What would have happened if I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to go to the car and wait for the cops? Like, would something?
Well,
What would you have done for me?
Well, you did what I hoped you would do, which is that you called the police. So when you got to your car, you would have found that your tires were slashed.
Oh,
Because, yeah, because the guy in the mausoleum, which is a ghoul, by the way, this is unlike the last one. This actually does include a Lovecraft thing. I guess, yeah, it's a Lovecraft thing. I was gonna say, is that more Derleth? But no, that's Lovecraft. It is a ghoul, although ghouls are not just Lovecraft. They're from mythology in general. They eat dead things. So where did you go?
I'm right. Oh, I'm right here. Sorry, I'm
So
trying to do
the
technical stuff.
so the ghoul was watching you. The ghoul was
Okay.
watching you when you were on the phone. So he would have went and slashed your tires with his hands, with his claws,
Mm, mm.
because he's like,
Um,
"Oh, this guy's calling the police. The jig's gonna be up. I need to kill him before the police get here." And instead, because you killed Perkins, whose name is an homage to Psycho, by the way, he replaced Perkins with you. You're his
uh,
Renfield.
was he was the ghoul feeding on the corpses? Is that what the deal was?
Yeah, yeah. So the ghoul just took up residence in the crypt, and he was having Perkins handle things as a formality, and he was just eating the bodies just whenever he was hungry, and that's why there were wedding rings in the drawer because if it was a gravedigger, they would have sold those or pawned them
What
off.
was what was in the second drawer?
Say that again. I didn't hear it on my end.
What was in the other drawer? The one I did wasn't able to
Oh,
open.
in the second drawer was a gun.
Oh!
So yeah, yeah. So that I had hopefully thought of everything, but you weren't necessarily supposed to succeed at everything. So if you'd gotten to the
Um,
drawer, you would have found a gun. And I think there was one other thing actually in there too. Let me look at my script. But go on.
I was also wondering if there would have been an instance to set fire to the shit. I mean, the mausoleum is probably made of stone, so I probably couldn't, but I mean, if I burn down the shed or
Boy,
the office, that kind of impedes its progress in what it's doing.
Didn't you try to set something on fire last time? Is that just me,
No,
or did you?
I've tried setting things on fire
No.
before, but not in the last two games. I
Yeah.
said I started a
Right.
fire with
Okay. All right.
the scarecrow one. I'm pretty sure.
Well, okay. So yeah. Right. Right. So that was an old one we played a long time ago. So if you started a fire, like it wouldn't really have necessarily done anything. I mean, you could have burned down his office, but the mausoleum was made
That's
of
what I
like
mean.
marble or something. Like you.
Right. But if you burn down the office, it's going to make it life a living hell for the ghoul.
Sure. There's stuff you could have done. Like there's other stuff you could have done, but it was deliberately limited. In like your options, and like for instance, at the end when you were fighting the ghoul, you could have ran away, but again, your car's tires would have been slashed, so you would have had to have been on foot. If you had
I
succeeded at your luck roll, the police would have shown up in time to save you, but you did not succeed at the luck roll, and hence, yeah. So,
yeah, I was gonna that was the
yeah.
other question was what would have been the likelihood that I actually could have killed this thing with a broomstick and a mag light?
It would have taken quite a lot. Like you would have had to have been beating him for like an hour.
Okay, so it wasn't going to happen in this game.
Yeah, because it could have happened, but it would have been like it would have been like one of those narrations in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where I would have had to have been like, and so he beat him again, and for an hour did the screams, like, like I don't know. That's just the way I look at it. But you could have done that, but it was basically you just had to roll enough positive rolls in a row, and he got a good roll, and he got an advantage over you, and then I said, okay, roll luck, and it didn't work out. But like,
what if I would have gotten a 1?
It's not set in stone. I was playing it by how the fight turned out, and it kind of seemed to because you thought he was dead, and then he jumped up, so he had an advantage on you. So it just seemed to play itself out that way, and you definitely like you're right that the time part of it was an issue, but if you'd rolled luck successfully, like I said, the police would have showed up, and at least that would have, I would say real quick, in most Call of Cthulhu scenarios, you should not be like, how do I kill the bad guy? You should be like, how do I not die? And and hey, you didn't die, so.
Well, I mean,
Any other questions about the scenario?
God, I had thought of something.
Did it feel atmospheric? I was trying to make this one be a little more atmospheric.
No, it was really fun. It was like I bought into everything, and like that's why I really like these anthologies. That they do feel really well worked out. The thing that, as I said, was I was very curious what would have happened if I would have actually played it a little truer to how I traditionally would have played it, but because we are kind of in this limited time frame, like we even with technical things, we technically went past our time, and we had to like reset up, which I don't know how I don't know how it's gonna look, but I tried to get the ball rolling is what I was trying to say. Like I tried to not be like, well, I'm gonna go back to the car.
Best of all possible worlds, if you'd had the gun, it would have been easier.
I could have just killed myself.
No. But it would have been easier to kill the ghoul with a gun. You had a broken in half broom, so
and it
was just the way it worked out. But it wasn't. I mean, I liked the way it worked out because it felt like like an episode of something. Like it was not in the script that the bad guy would die and then come back to life like a horror movie. That was just what happened because that's how the fight turned out. So like. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed how things went, and I thought that your character worked, like made sense. You would have gotten extra points if you had gotten out of there alive and gotten your grandfather's body. Like if you had taken the body with you somehow, you would have gotten sanity rewards.
Here's a couple questions. When I when I went into the mausoleum and I started fighting the ghoul, you gave me the option of like once I kind of had subdued it temporarily and I located the corpse, you were like, "What do you
Mm-hmm.
do?" And I was like, "What am I supposed to do? Was I supposed to have the wreath still? Like, what what was
No,
kind
well,
of the
so like the reason I told you that your character loved your grandfather, right, was because
yeah?
I was hoping that you would give a shit what happened to his body.
Oh, you were saying you like I should have rescued the corpse or something? I mean, I
Because
did
he's just
care.
gonna eat it like it's a McBit like it's a Big Mac or something.
Right, right. And I obviously cared. It's just that I wasn't gonna just like pull the
Oh yeah, no, it was a
also
life threatening
also if it's been
situation.
dead for 10
So
years,
so so there's another way that it could have worked out. Well, he's been embalmed. There's another way that it could have worked out where you go into the mausoleum without confronting Perkins, or like you could have confronted him the first time, but if you go in there by yourself and stealth it around, you sneak around, and then you see that there's this creature down there, and you see your grandfather's body, you could have taken the body and snuck out of there and got the body into your car. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying these
no.
were possibilities.
But again, this corpse has been in the ground for 10 years.
It's nuts because he's a dead body. I understand. No, I
Yeah,
understand, and you don't have to do that. Like the game is not. I did not. I don't ever write a Call of Cthulhu like this is how you win the game and this is how
right,
you lose the game. It's not really like
right,
that.
right.
So I did not expect. I did not expect you to do that. However, I think another player might do that. And the only reason that I even
is
had
there
that as a
any type
setup, it's really pretentious because the only reason that's in there is basically for thematic reasons. I wanted the story to have a theme, and I'm not even going to say what it is because I think now that I said that, it's probably obvious. But I wanted it to you, Tanner, because you and I both know kind of like mythological stuff. So I wanted that to be something that like drove the plot because otherwise, why do you even care about anything that's happening? But again, you don't have to care about specifically retrieving the body. Like that was fine. Like the way you played it out was not like a disappointment or anything like that.
but it didn't have it wasn't so okay, but what I'm trying to say is like me paying respects or treating the body or doing anything like that, it wouldn't have changed my chances or it wouldn't have changed anything. Like so like when you'd ask me like what do you do? I was like
Oh yeah,
if
no,
I
it
had
would
the
have. I
wreath
would
and
have
if I
given
would have
you.
like
Yeah, I would have given you a plus. So I would have either given you like a free reroll or
oh
advantage like a bonus die. Yeah,
okay.
because you would have been inspired by
Mm,
by saving your grandfather's body.
okay. Okay, that's kind of cool. Um
And one more thing, which I realized I just had too much in the scenario, so I cut this out. The creature actually lived in a cavern underneath the mausoleum. So you were gonna find the bodies there, and then I was like, we don't have much time. I'm gonna cut that, you know. But that would have added an extra layer, in my opinion, is that it's underground. But
if
yeah,
if the cops did show up in time, what how would the
hmm
scenario have ended?
they would have shot him. They would have shot the ghoul. After they shot the ghoul would have like turned to ash. So there's no like evidence, and then they would have just said like, you and I both know something crazy happened, and they would let you go. But you would then have the option to like make arrangements for your grandfather's corpse, basically. But it's very much like it's not that much would happen. It was just that you would be saved from the clutches of the ghoul
Cool. Well,
because there would be like multiple guns on him.
maybe there will be someone in my family who will come to rescue me.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
I see an
I think it's
epilogue
I
where
think
they
it's
have like
cool.
a private investigator and he's like talking to me as the groundskeeper and he's just looking at a picture of me and me and he's just like
Now, if someone wants to rerun the scenario, I can understand them thinking, "Why the did you give this normal person who has no weapons? Why did you give them a ghoul to fight?" I can understand someone being like, "That's overpowered," But the whole point was kind of that the ghoul doesn't want to come right out and kill you. It's like it's a setup for the ghoul. It's like a whole situation that he set up for himself. So, like, the idea was to extend the situation around that, and then if you found the right elements, you could deal with it. So, if someone wanted to run this and just alter it, yeah, go ahead, alter it. Maybe the ghoul is really old and his teeth are like rotting, and maybe he's weak and can't like do anything. Like maybe he's only half the strength that he would be in the book. You could do things like that. Like I lowered his armor because they have an automatic armor. So that was the only thing I really did. But yeah, so if you want to rerun it yourself and you want to make the ghoul weaker, that's a fine way to do it. Or you want to replace the ghoul with something else, like that's fine. But yeah, that would be the only suggestion I would have. And this, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to playtest this before I ran it with you. So this really is the playtesting. So if it's not as good as it could be, that might be the reason. But I think it went well. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. If you were to play this with someone else, what would you change about the game?
I think that one, I would make sure that we had like 40, maybe 45 minutes. And I would keep the cavern area underneath the mausoleum because I think it adds a layer. Like, for instance, the creature's watching you. It's like, how is he watching you when you're in the cemetery? Well, if he's underneath the ground and there's, like, holes that he can look through, then that kind of makes sense. And it gives you another place to go and shit. And then I think I guess I would have to ask you. I think the smart thing to do would be to ask you, what do you think that I should put in that it's kind of missing just to, like, have fun for the player?
In terms of like adding anything or spicing anything up or anything like that, I cannot really think of anything. The only thing that really jumps to my mind is that, like, as I said, I initially would have played this way more cautiously. And because I just know the nature of the game is you're going to die if you try to even fight things. And so I would have gone back to the car.
You can live in a fight, but it's very rare.
Right. But like when you said like, oh, you would have found the tires slashed, I would have, in my player game mind, I would have been like, well, what's stopping me from just like walking out, like from just like leaving? You know what I mean? And
well, you drove 3 hours to get there.
Right. But being on the highway is conceivably safer than being in this graveyard. So I would have just thought of ways to prevent that. Like maybe I had to drive into the like a gated thing. And maybe if I was to come back, the gates would have been closed and I would have been trapped inside this greater compound. I would just think of like,
yeah, that might work.
Better ways to contain
a way to like lock them in. That's not bad. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe because I had that element that it was getting later and they were going to close. Maybe it's even later than I had it, and then when it closes, it's like the gate closes.
Yeah, and you have to park within the area. You know what I mean?
That might be a good deal. I mean, I was just gonna wing it, and if you did walk home, I was gonna have the ghoul come after you. But I don't like that because I want it to all be in the cemetery. So, yeah.
And then
good idea. I like that. I'm gonna add that to it.
Another thing is, maybe cell phones don't work, but he has a phone in his office that works.
Yeah, okay. My idea was just that the ghoul got rid of the phone. But yeah, that might be a good idea because if the cell phones isn't working, because I didn't have you I don't think I had you roll for reception, did I?
No.
So I could have done
that. I was totally expecting to not get a signal.
I could have done that. I think I just forgot. Oh, you know what? The reason I let you do that, it was totally plot convenience. You could say this was bad, but I let you do that because I wanted the ghoul to hear you say it.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
yeah. Because I could tell you were going to do something like that, so I was like, oh, I'm just going to let him, like you notice how...
You're like, this asshole always calls the cops.
No, but like, as the cop that was talking to you, for instance... I chose to say very little to let you say as much as possible.
Ah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so that he heard you talking, because otherwise it's just that's right,
Okay, that's cool.
So, but I for me personally, I really like this premise, and I don't. If someone wants to take it and do something wildly different with it, I say go ahead, go do that, because I enjoy the premise just on its own. It feels like a night. The reason I used, I don't know, you might see it in the Roll20. I used a Rod Serling from
Yeah,
Night Gallery picture because
yeah.
to me it feels like a Night Gallery episode. So, and Night Gallery had a bunch of Lovecraft shit in it because the producer Jack Laird was a big Lovecraft fan and he knew it was public domain, so he would just rip it off a lot. It's really weird. But yeah, so it's kind of connected that way. But anyway, I don't have much else to say except that that was actually fun, and I think that was better than the first one. I think, at least the sound will not be shit this time. So
It definitely felt more on brand for Call of Cthulhu.
yes, 100%. The last one had an almost like I don't know if this is quite right, but almost like Japanese horror feel to it.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah,
Uh,
I can see that.
you can see that. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
This one definitely was more
kind of like
Lovecraft. I mean, it
kind of
has an
like
actual ghoul in it.
kind of like Silent Hill a little bit, where it's like you're dealing with different realities on top of each other.
Yeah. Silent Hill could be a good connection. Hellraiser, I already said, was kind of a thing. So that one was different.
Hmm.
The next
And
one,
Stranger Things a little bit too, even though Stranger Things is derivative of all that stuff.
straight. Everybody knows about Stranger Things. Stranger Things is Stranger Things is like one of those when you go to the park and they have that nice little mat that the kids can jump on, and it's made entirely of recycled like cans and stuff. That's Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's great. Don't get me wrong. I like to jump on it, but uh, anyway, yeah. Yeah. Anything else to say, Tan the Man?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, for Radio Cthulhu, I am Hot Dog Prophet
I'm
signing out.
Tanner.